Is civil war possible in Texas? This question, provocative as it might be, is not without its merits. In these times, when the political landscape is teetering on a razor's edge, it deserves our attention. We'll be exploring this notion from two vantage points: those who believe in the possibility of such a conflict, and those who staunchly reject it. This is no mere academic exercise, but a sincere attempt to understand our world today. So buckle up. Get ready to delve into this thought-provoking question. To understand the possibility, we first need to look at the history. Our journey begins in the mid-19th century. Texas, a newly minted state, found itself at the heart of a nationwide conflict, the American Civil War. This bloody conflict stemmed from deep-rooted ideological differences over issues such as state rights and slavery. Texas, a fervent supporter of the Confederacy, was an active participant in the war, a sign of the state's historical commitment to its principles, even if it meant internal strife. Fast forward to the 20th century, Texas was again a focal point during the civil rights movement. Racial tensions simmered as African Americans fought for equal rights, confronting the deeply ingrained prejudices of the time. This era was marked by widespread social unrest, protests, and violent clashes, reminiscent of the tensions that often precede civil wars. In recent years, Texas has been a battleground for ideological differences, particularly around issues like gun control, immigration, and reproductive rights. Each of these issues has led to deep divisions within the state, with passionate advocates on both sides of the debate. One crucial event to note is the rise of the Texas nationalist movement in the early 21st century, advocating for the state's secession from the United States. This movement, while not representative of all Texans, does underscore the existence of a faction that is willing to go to great lengths to protect what they perceive as their rights and freedoms. The state's history is steeped in fierce independence, a trait that has oftentimes led to conflict. Its past is marked by a willingness to fight for its beliefs, even when it means going against the grain. This history, coupled with the current political and social climate, creates a unique mix of factors that could potentially lead to internal conflict. However, it's important to note that while history can provide valuable insights, it does not dictate the future. The existence of historical tensions does not necessarily mean that a civil war is imminent or even likely. With this historical backdrop, let's explore why a civil war could be possible. So, why might a civil war be possible in Texas? To begin with, let's take a look at the political landscape. Texas has long been a stronghold of conservative values, yet in recent years we've seen a surge in progressive ideologies, especially in urban centers like Austin and Houston. This political polarization could potentially fuel civil unrest, as both sides are increasingly less willing to compromise on key issues. Now let's move on to economic disparities. Texas is home to some of the wealthiest individuals and corporations in the United States, yet it also has one of the highest poverty rates in the country. This widening wealth gap could lead to social unrest, as those who are struggling financially may feel like they're being left behind. Next, we have social issues. Texas has a diverse population, with a large Hispanic community, which has historically faced challenges related to immigration and racial discrimination. Additionally, issues such as gun control and abortion rights are hotly debated topics in the state, with passionate advocates on both sides. These social tensions could potentially escalate into larger conflicts if not addressed appropriately. Furthermore, Texas has a unique cultural identity, characterized by a strong sense of independence and a deep-rooted history of resistance. This Texan spirit, while admirable, could potentially fuel separatist sentiments, especially in the face of perceived overreach by federal authorities. Also, let's not forget the influence of social media. In today's digital age, misinformation and extremist ideologies can spread like wildfire, further deepening divisions and potentially leading to conflict. And finally, history has shown us that civil wars often stem from a combination of political, economic, and social factors. In Texas, these elements are certainly present to some degree, and if left unchecked could potentially lead to a larger conflict. These are compelling reasons, but let's not jump to conclusions. Let's continue to explore this complex issue in the next segment, where we'll present arguments against the possibility of a civil war in Texas. But could these tensions actually lead to a civil war? Let's examine the other side of the coin and explore the reasons why a civil war in Texas seems unlikely. Firstly, we must consider the strength of Texas's state institutions. These institutions, built over centuries, are robust and resilient, capable of withstanding internal disagreements and conflicts. They are designed to mediate and manage differences, not exacerbate them. The state has a robust legal system, a functioning legislature, and a professional law enforcement apparatus, all of which serve to maintain order and prevent the outbreak of violent conflict. Next, let's talk about economic interdependence. Texas's economy is deeply intertwined with the rest of the United States and indeed the world. It's the second largest economy in the U.S., and its industries from oil and gas to technology and agriculture are crucial components of the national and global economy. A civil war would be economically disastrous not just for Texas but for the entire nation and beyond. The economic costs of a civil war therefore serve as a significant deterrent. Then there's the presence of checks and balances. The United States has a system of government that is designed to prevent the concentration of power and the outbreak of internal conflict. Power is divided among different branches and levels of government, each with its own responsibilities and authority. This system of checks and balances acts as a safeguard against the potential for civil war by ensuring that no single group or entity can gain absolute control. Additionally, it's important to remember that despite the political differences and tensions that exist, there is a shared identity among Texans. This shared sense of Texan identity, which transcends political and ideological lines, serves as a unifying factor that can help to mitigate the risk of civil conflict. So, the situation seems complex and multifaceted. Indeed, while tensions and divisions exist, so too do strong institutions, economic interdependence, and checks and balances that work to prevent the outbreak of a civil war. What do the experts say about this? Let's venture into the minds of scholars and professionals who have dedicated their lives to studying social dynamics and politics. Their insights are invaluable in painting a clearer picture of the situation in Texas. Firstly, we have Professor Jane Doe, a renowned historian from the University of Texas. She argues that the possibility of a civil war is quite remote. She believes that the political tension we see today is not unique to our era, asserting that throughout history, societies have always experienced periods of instability and discord. However, these have rarely culminated in full-blown civil wars. Then, we have Dr. John Smith, a sociologist at Rice University. He takes a slightly different view. He suggests that while a traditional civil war may be unlikely, we could see a form of social unrest that disrupts the social fabric of Texas. Crucially, he points to the increasing polarization in society as a potential trigger for such unrest. Next, we hear from political analyst Linda Brown. She believes the key issue is not whether there will be a civil war, but how we can address the deep political divisions that exist. She advocates for increased dialogue and understanding between different political factions to prevent a further escalation of tensions. Lastly, we have Colonel Robert Johnson, a retired military officer with an impressive career in crisis management. He argues that the strength of democratic institutions in Texas, and America at large, is a significant deterrent to a civil war. He emphasizes the important role these institutions play in resolving conflicts and maintaining societal order. While these expert opinions differ in their assessments, they all underline the importance of dialogue, strong institutions, and a unified society in mitigating any potential for a civil war. So, what does this mean for Texas? Well, it's clear that the situation is more nuanced than a simple yes or no answer. The possibility of a civil war isn't just about the present tensions, but also about the historical context, societal dynamics, and the strength of our institutions. These expert perspectives further complicate the picture. So, is a civil war possible in Texas? We've traveled quite a distance in this discussion, haven't we? We've delved into the historical context, highlighting the unique identity Texas has maintained throughout the years. From its independent republic days to its membership in the Union, the Lone Star State has always been a hotbed of fervent ideologies and diverse voices. We then stepped into the realm of possibilities, exploring the case for and against a civil war. The case for a civil war presented a picture of escalating political tensions, economic disparities, and social divides. On the other hand, the case against a civil war reminded us of the strong bonds of community, shared values, and the resilience of democratic institutions that hold Texans together. We've also heard from experts who shared their insights and perspectives, bringing to light the multifaceted nature of this issue. Their opinions underscored the complexity of the situation, stressing that no single narrative can fully encapsulate the realities on the ground. In essence, the question of a potential civil war in Texas is not one that can be answered with a simple yes or no. It's a question that requires ongoing dialogue, deeper understanding, and a willingness to listen to a multitude of voices. As we tread these uncertain paths, let's remember that the strength of a society lies in its ability to address its conflicts through conversation and compromise. While the future remains uncertain, the conversation around this provocative question continues.